guys, Kashira here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about some of the steps you should take to get started with building a team. This is a recurring question. It always comes up, and while I do have a podcast episode on this, I wanted to bring this over to YouTube. So if you are interested in learning how to prepare to make your first hire and build your team, make sure you subscribe to this channel and stay tuned. So as mentioned, I do have a longer piece of content on this. It's on my podcast, which is called The Brand Your Power Show. It's available on all major platforms, including iTunes and Spotify, and it's basically called like How I Built My Team. But I wanted to give you some quick tips that you can get started with if you're thinking about making your first contractor hire. Maybe you're getting ready to hire an executive assistant, a virtual assistant, a social media manager, whatever it is, these tips are going to apply to you. So if you are someone who knows you need help, but you don't know where to start or what type of role you should even hire for, this first point is for you in particular. So the first thing that you want to do is do a 2-week time audit. I recommend at least 2 weeks, but if your work schedule is pretty like routine, like every week is the same thing, then 1 week is fine. I know for me, my work schedule changes a lot, so 2 weeks is what is required for me. And even to this day, I still do this. This is actually how I figured out that I needed to hire a marketing team to help me with my content. I did an audit of how I was approaching my content. So what do you need to do during this 2-week time audit? You need to meticulously document everything that you are doing in your business from the moment you start the workday to when you end the workday. So what made this easy for me is that I did it in 30-minute increments versus like every couple of minutes. So even if within a 30-minute period I switched tasks 3 times, I still documented what I was doing. This is going to help you to see where you are spending your time. In addition to this, you want to write down how long you spent time doing that thing. This does not need to be fancy. I did it in a notebook. You can do it in a spreadsheet. You don't need anything fancy to do this, okay? You want to do a time audit. The other thing that I actually like to document is what are some of the recurring projects that may not be going on right now during this audit period, but they do happen quite often in my business. So some examples could be maybe you host an annual conference. Maybe you do a quarterly webinar, or maybe once a quarter you do a really big marketing campaign. And at the time of this audit, you may not be doing that now, but you know that that's coming up. So the next step in this is taking those recurring projects, and this is not the wishful thinking part. This is not the, oh, this is something I want to do, but I haven't done it. Like, no, what's already like in motion, and document everything that's associated with that, every task. This is the big thing with doing this right, is you don't want to group stuff together. You don't want to say, oh, like conference logistics and just put that as one task. It's like, no, break that down. Write down secure venue, pay venue deposit, research speakers, send emails to 8 speakers. Like, you want to write that down meticulously like that so that you can see everything that goes into it. So you want to do the audit, and then you want to review. And what I like to do, which is why I love doing it in a notebook, is I like to grab a piece of paper and I like to draw 3 columns. And in the columns, the headings are things I own. The next column is things someone else can own. And the third column is what can be automated, right? And I go through both my time audit and my recurring project list, and I take every single task and I break them up. So how to approach this? The can own column means I am the only person that can actually do this, meaning this requires my zone of genius, my expertise. So for example, one thing that I own and will for the foreseeable future is doing coaching calls. That requires my actual zone of genius, or designing curriculum. And though we could actually argue you can hire out for that too, let's just break this down into like simple terms, right? Things that like I have to do. And then from there is things someone else can do. So if it's something as simple as editing a YouTube video, while I can do it and I have the skills to do it, do I have to do it? Am I the only person that can do it? That's going to go in the that someone else can own list. Something that technology could do could be sending out an email reminder about a video. So that's going to go in 2 columns. That's going to go in the someone else can write it column, and then this the automated where we don't have to manually press send. So you want to do that for all of the tasks. And this is where you got to let your trust issues go. You do not need to own every task in your business. Create economic opportunity for somebody else and put some more tasks on in the someone else can own column. So that's the next step in this process. Okay. And from here, people who don't know what role you're hiring from, you want to look at these at the things that can be outsourced column and figure out what skill set does this fall within. So if the bulk of your task underneath things that someone else can own are marketing related, then you might want to hire a marketing assistant or a social media manager. If it's mainly administrative, if it's mainly calendar stuff and email stuff, you may want to get a VA. If, let's say, your big marketing avenue is podcasting and a lot of that stuff is podcasting, you may want to hire a podcast producer or someone with expertise in that. So that's how you figure out who you actually want to hire. From there, before we even build the job description and start recruiting, we want to ensure that we have the right tools for somebody to do their job. I have hired both with this and without this, and every time when I have this stuff together, it makes it so much easier. So the next step is creating standard operating procedures. If you don't know how to do this, I have an entire YouTube video on how to do it, and we're going to link it either in a card above or in the description box. But standard operating procedures in layman's terms is basically the instruction guide, how to do the job, how to do the task. And the best SOPs are the ones that are very specific. So you will most people will either write them out or create a video. I do both. So if I am bringing on a social media manager and I want to show them how to create a graphic in Canva, I will record myself doing it. I use a software called Loom. Screen record myself doing it, store it in Google Drive, and we organize it via ClickUp where they can easily find that tutorial. So that helps with onboarding, training, and someone just having confidence in being able to do the job the way that you want to. If we don't have SOPs and training materials, people cannot do their jobs, and they aren't going to be able to read our minds and know what we want, right? And so sometimes I've been on it and had it, other times I didn't, and every time I didn't, things tend to go wrong. Like, not drastically wrong, but wrong enough for me to say, let me go and create this SOP. So you want to create those SOPs and know that your SOPs can and will change as your business grows, because you're going to switch tools, you're going to switch how you do things, you're going to eliminate things. So just know that this is a fluid process that will probably always be on your dashboard, right, of things to do. Then you're going to create your job description. So you're going to look at those lists of tasks and you're going to group them into your job description. So those tasks are typically going to go under the responsibility section. And then other things you want to put on the job description is a brief description of the role. Like, how closely will this person work to you? Like, why is this role important to your company? You want to put a description of your company on there. You also want to put some logistics around, is this part-time, contract, full-time? And if it's not full-time, how many hours a week are you asking for? Because people want to know that before they apply. If you need somebody for 40 hours a week and they don't have 40 hours to give you, they want to know that before they apply. I also actually put the salary on mine. Like, I put the pay because I want people to know, like, coming in, like, I don't want this to be a shock. I remember back in the day when I was working full time and I would interview for jobs, and I remember how annoying it was to finally get to the final round of the interview to find out that this job paid drastically less than what I was making. And again, that's optional though. You do not have to put the salary on there. I do. For my roles, my hourly roles, like, I put the salary on there. And then people also want to know if this is remote, can they work from home, are they expected to travel? You want to put all of that on there. And then the last thing you want to put is qualifications. So you want to let people know what kind of skills you're looking for. So even though you put the task up there of what they'll be doing, you still want to call out, like, are you looking for strong analytical skills or, communication skills? Are you looking for a self-starter, somebody that's really creative? You want to document that. And if you have any other experience requirements. To be completely honest, I've been really fluid with my experience requirements. Like, I just put the skills and the attitude that I'm looking for, but I have not put educational requirements or even years of experience requirements, because personally, I felt like I was always hindered by that. Like, I would be really, really adept at doing something because of special projects at work, but because I hadn't done it for 3 years, I had only done it for 2, I wasn't qualified. So that's just something that I do within my company culture, and we'll have to have a whole other video on creating your company culture, but things like that do play a role in your company culture. So you do want to go ahead and create a job description and then get it online. Honestly, I've found that my best hires have come from my network. So when I create a job posting, I actually put it on my website. I create a little careers page on my site, and I share it on social media, and I send it to my email list. I put it everywhere. And if I'm struggling to get hits, or honestly, most times I'm pretty proactive with this, I'll also list it on Indeed. It's free to list jobs on Indeed. You can also list it on Monster, and if you want, you can also list it on Upwork. So Upwork is actually how I found my current VA, who is amazing. But that's how I found her. But everyone else, for the most part, like almost everyone else, came from my network, came from people applying, and then interviewing, setting up the interview logistics and things like that. So that's how I actually go about building my team. Let me look. So then from there, the next part, I feel like you kind of know, right? Like, you know that you need to interview people, and you can Google like interview questions and prompts and figure that stuff out. But the big thing that I feel like people struggle with when they hire people is actually, one, giving them things to do, and two, managing performance. So the other thing is, like, you have to be prepared to be a manager and be prepared to manage people. Like, I would go and get a book on leadership and managing if you've never done it before, but for me it's very much like coaching, so it all aligns. But you have to help people when they get to your company. Like, you can't just train them once and that's it. You have to make yourself available for their questions and create an environment where they feel comfortable asking for things, and just try to have it together as much as you can. But even if you don't, just letting them know that it's okay for them to ask questions and that you're willing to create new trainings and things like that if you need it, because they're coming into your company blind. They don't know your company like that. Even if they know you, they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of your business. And so one thing I've done with my most recent hires is I've changed orientation, where now orientation is a kickoff of like the mission and vision of the company, and who else works here, and what's our culture, what do we expect, what are our values, what do we offer, and who's our market, who's our audience. Like, really just so that they feel like a sense of like, okay, this is a company, like, and I know what this company is about, and this company aligns with me in some form or fashion, so I'm comfortable here, right? So you want to make sure that you're acclimating them into your company and not just expecting them to know because of social media or your website. And let's be honest, how many online business owners still have a traditional About Us page that's not just their bio, that has their mission and vision and values, things like that. So you want to train on that, but then you also want to train on the role. And the big thing here is letting them know what success looks like, and being very clear on like expectations and letting them know, and then also documenting that, right? Like writing that down somewhere, communicating that somewhere. What does success look like? What kind of decisions are they going to have to make in that role? And when are they expected to call you, right? Because my big thing is, I'm not a micromanager. I'm not the person that's going to just check up on you for no reason, right? But at the same time, I want people to know when to raise their hand. Like, I don't want people to call me every 5 minutes. I feel like if that's happening, this isn't a good relationship for us, because that means I might as well do it myself. Like, I'm not freeing up time. But I also want them to know, like, when is a good time to raise your hand, and then not to be afraid to do so, right? Like, knowing when to ask questions and when to like trust your instincts and make a decision. And it also comes with you creating an environment where they feel like you trust them to do that, right? So, and that may not be day one, but at some point that's going to be a thing. So I recommend having standing check-in meetings with your team. Right now I do them all one-on-one because of everybody's schedule. I try not to be the person that has meetings just to have meetings, but I do recommend having one-on-ones with people at least once a month, if not more frequently, and giving them a space to talk. Not just saying, okay, where are you with this, and this project, and that's it, but giving them a space, like actually asking how they are and how they're doing and how they're feeling about things, and if they need something from you, like, you know, just really checking in and creating that culture where they can talk to you, right? Like, as much as I love email and text, there is value in having those conversations. So you want to have that. And the other thing you want to start to do is formalize performance reviews. So once a year, you want to actually have a discussion with whomever you're working with about performance. You may want to have it sooner rather than later if you're noticing issues, right? Because you don't want to catch somebody off guard with the firing if you can help it, if it's something that they could have adjusted, right? And I'm not talking about just like pure negligence. I'm talking about just mistakes that are starting to pile up. You want to have that conversation as soon as you can rather than later. So if you have questions on how to navigate that, comment them down below. Happy to make a follow-up video for you. But that's the next part is more than just like, okay, I need to write a job description. It's what do I have in place so that when this person comes in, they feel comfortable, they know what they're doing, but I'm also managing the risk around having an employee, having a contractor coming in. Like, am I having performance standards documented? Do I have everything clear and laid out so that they know what they're doing, but if required, and I have to have performance management conversations, I'm prepared to do that too, which is why documenting is just so important. So with that being said, I hope this video was helpful for you. Comment down below with any questions. Again, check out my podcast, The Brand Your Power Show, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Bye.